All right, guys, welcome back. I know it's been a long time, lots going on, making some moving transitions and whatnot, but definitely glad to be back. It's definitely fight day as promised. I will give my Earl Spence, Sean Porter prediction. I think it's going to be a good one, man. Excellent card. Fox pay per view today. I think it's at Staples Center. Got Earl Spence, who's 29 years old. I think he's 5'9", 72-inch reach, 25 and 0, 21 knockouts, IBF champ. Versus Sean Porter, who's 32 and 1, 17 knockouts, WBC champ, second time champion. It's a unification fight. I think it's I want to say the 11th welterweight unification. So not a lot of unifications for that division. It's, a lot of legends have come through that division, but only 11 times have they tried to unify. So, it's just something to think about. But they also had less belts back then, too. So there's also that as well. But it's a great fight, man. Styles definitely make fights. You know, a lot of people are not giving Sean Porter much of a chance. I think it's kind of like a 65-35 type of fight, leaning with Earl Spence. Um, you know, Sean Porter, I think he's 5'7". He looked 5'6", but box rec, they got him at 5'7", 69-inch reach. Both fighters look good at the weigh-in yesterday. Both weighed in at 147. Um, Definitely interesting build-up, Definitely loved the PBC Fight Camp series. The countdown was cool. Both fighters were, I think Sean Porter, 2 weeks ago was on Sunday, Fox NFL Sunday TV show. That was cool. Earl Spence, I think he was at a Cowboys game and they showed him with Jerry Jones. So, you know, um, I think Fox did a better job promoting Earl Spence and Mikey, but I don't think they did a bad job with this fight. I guess the perception is that Earl Spence is gonna just walk through Sean Porter and beat his ass, but I don't know if it's gonna happen like that. I think it's gonna be tougher than that. It could go down that way, but no one's ever beaten Sean easily. Obviously, no one's ever stopped Sean Porter. I heard Danny Garcia said on I think it was a Fight Hype or a Fight Hub interview, saying that Sean Porter has the best welterweight resume, which is what I've said for a minute now. He's fought all the top welterweights in their prime. Kell Brook, Danny Garcia, Keith Thurman, Broner, now Earl Spence. So he's kind of like the Holyfield of this division. He's hard to beat and he's hard to stop, and he's fought everybody. So and he's never looked bad in any of his fights. In terms of close fights, close decisions. His last fight, he didn't look great. I argue probably could have been a draw or maybe even Ugas could have won it. So definitely wasn't one of Sean's best performances, but styles do make fights. Ugas is also a big welterweight. I think him and Earl Spence probably about close in terms of size. But Ugas is more of just a strict counterpuncher. But he's got good feet though. You know, Danny Garcia is a good counterpuncher, but he doesn't have good feet. So I think that's kind of the main difference between Ugas and Danny. And also Ugas is a natural welterweight. He's pretty big. Same thing with Earl. Earl's a big welterweight. Also the long reach. He has decent power, decent speed. I think he's kind of like Canelo. Like Canelo's got better speed, but I think accumulation of speed and power are probably similar. It's just Earl Spence is more consistent, more efficient. Very accurate. He's a sharpshooter. I think Kell Brook called him a sharpshooter, and that's what he is. I would say Earl's probably got the best jab in the division. Very fundamentally sound, very textbook. He can fight well upstairs, he can fight well downstairs. But he does have some flaws in his game. I think Earl Spence definitely has some earmuff syndrome, meaning when you throw a lot of combinations at him, he'll typically just shell up. I've seen Broner do this for really since the Maidana fight. I think both Charlos do this, and Earl does this. When you throw 4 or 5 punches at a time, they typically just shell up. They rarely throw in between your punches. So Sean Porter, this is what I mean when Sean Porter has to keep the pace. He has to throw 4 or 5 punches at a time. He won't be able to just try to use a 1-2 or 1-2-3 and score, especially since he's a shorter fighter, shorter arms. He has to do more to get into the inside and keep the fight in Earl's chest. But that doesn't mean he can't do it, you know. But I think Sean has to have a jab, you know. He has to jab his way on the inside, and he has to throw, in my opinion, two, three jabs to get in, and then throw three, four punches out the door, circle left, you know, definitely double the hook. It's hard to land a left hook on a southpaw with a high guard, but if he doubles it and triples it, he can score it. Anytime you're facing a southpaw with a high guard, the money punch is going to be the straight right or an uppercut if you get in close. But most of the welterweights don't really have straight punches except for I would consider the top three with Spence, Crawford, and Pacquiao. But we'll see. You know, we got to see it. Sean Porter definitely has to come in angles, use the jab, use head movement, turn Earl Spence, make him work, make him shell up, and like I said before, throw 4 or 5 punches at a time because Earl Spence, more times than not, will not throw in between Sean's punches. So Sean has to really just outwork Earl Spence and put him preferably on the back foot and, you know, make Earl Spence shell up. For Earl Spence, really more simple, you know, use the jab, make him eat the jab. I would say a check hook would be good for him in this fight. When Sean Porter comes in, Kell Brook had a lot of success with, you know, throwing the 1-2 and then a check hook, occasional uppercut. Earl Spence does have a nice uppercut. You know, I think he's really fluid with combination punching. He doesn't throw like 5, 6 punches at a time. Typically throw like 3 or 4 max, but typically it's orchestrated from the jab. So, like I said before, I think Earl has the best jab in the division. You know, he doubles it, he triples it. You know, he goes upstairs, he goes downstairs. The one issue I do have with Earl's jab at times, and actually Mikey Garcia was able to, I think Mikey saw it. I just don't think he was able to execute it a lot. And that was to throw a hook with Earl's. Because sometimes Earl doesn't bring his jab all the way back after he throws it. Sometimes he, you know, leaves it out there. And when that does happen, that's when you can throw the left hook. When you know, that's how you can counter the jab. Is throw a left hook when Earl is slow to retreat his hand. So when Earl sometimes keep his hands low at times during the fight or throws a lazy jab, that's when you can actually lead with a left hook or, like I said before, double the hook if you're Sean Porter because that's Sean's best punch. I wouldn't bank on it for the majority of the fight because he doesn't always do that, but when he does do it, Sean has to be ready and ready to throw it. For Earl Spence, jab, 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 double it, triple it. I would definitely jab to the body. He's careful too though, because you don't want to punch down. That's the problem when tall fighters are fighting shorter guys. They, you know, punch down. You don't really want to punch down because that kind of takes away your power. So Earl has to fight in like he has to use angles too. That way he's not punching, you know, like this. You know, you don't want to be throwing choppy punches. That's not going to have the same amount of steam. So it is difficult fighting a smaller fighter. But as long as he keeps an educated jab, double and triple it, Earl's got a very good straight left. He's got a nice uppercut. He's got a sweeping left. He's very good at versatility with his left hand. He's one of the most versatile lefties in terms of just, you know, using different lefts. Obviously, he's a good body puncher. I think we're going to see a more aggressive Earl Spence than what we've seen versus Mikey Garcia. I think in his last fight, he wanted to prove that he could outbox Mikey. Where in this fight, he's been pretty adamant about knocking out Sean Porter. We'll see if it happens. I think it depends on the first 5 rounds. If Earl's able to dominate early and often, then I could see a stoppage. But if it's kind of a nip and tuck, back and forth type of fight, then I don't really see a knockout. I think, you know, it'd probably be a competitive but unanimous decision. But if Earl Spence is, you know, dominant with the jab early and often like he was versus Mikey Garcia and Lamont Peterson, then I could see a late stoppage. You know, because I don't think Sean Porter has the same defense that Mikey Garcia does to, you know, ward off or take some of the steam off Earl's punches. You know, Sean Porter, because he will be more aggressive than Mikey Garcia. Mikey Garcia, half the fight, fought not to get knocked out, Whereas Sean Porter, I think he'll actually fight to win for the majority of the fight. So, but like I said, if Earl gets going early and often, start landing combinations, especially to the body early. Earl wasn't really working to Mikey's body until the second half of the fight, but if he starts early off going to the body, then a stoppage is definitely possible. Breakdown by accumulation. So we'll just have to wait and see. I think it's a really good fight. Styles do make fights. I think this fight could show shades of like Canelo versus James Kirkland, maybe a little bit of that, maybe a little bit of Kovalev and Pascal, good boxer puncher versus an athletic fighter. I think I don't think it's going to be a dominant. Well, I think it'll be competitive. I don't know if Earl will dominate Sean. If he does, I'll be really impressed. If he dominates or stops Sean Porter, I got to see someone dominate Sean Porter to call for that. So I think it's going to be a competitive fight, at least early on. But it's been a lot of interesting trash talk. They both said, Earl's been adamant about getting the knockout. Sean said he's going to break Earl's will. The trainers have been doing a little bit of smack talk in the last couple of days. So I think everybody's kind of just ready for the fight to get going and make it happen. But I'm glad it's happening. We'll see what happens after the fight. Earl said he believes he can get the fight with Pacquiao. I'm not as optimistic. I just from what I'm hearing, it seems like Earl can't talk. That Pacquiao might fight either Mikey, Danny, and maybe Sean if he beats Earl. So, I don't want Earl to just keep chasing Pacquiao. I'd rather see him fight Terrence Crawford if he beats Porter and Pacquiao doesn't want the smoke. So, we'll just have to see what happens. But if he doesn't get the Pacquiao fight, what's most likely is going to happen, he'll probably fight Lepinets or this dude from Uzbekistan. I think he's highly ranked to the IBF or Ugas. One of those type fights would happen. I'd rather see Crawford next if he can't get Manny Pacquiao. But I don't think they're going to put Earl Spence in with Terrence Crawford until they absolutely have to. They're going to exhaust all his options at the welterweight division first before going that route. Which, as a boxing fan, it sucks, but, I get it. Not happy about it, but, I just hope Terrence Crawford, if he can get out of that a top-ranked contract, which I think is coming to a close, then maybe can find a deal or work something with Al Heyman, and then we can get that fight even sooner because it's not like they're doing him any favors on ESPN anyway, so I don't really see the point for him to stay, but who knows? We'll see what happens. I don't know what ESPN or Bob Arum's got for Terrence Crawford on the inside. I'm not in his team or contract negotiations, stuff of that nature. But I think it's the best fight in boxing. But Earl Spence, Sean Porter, great unification. I think it's the 11th in welterweight division history. I'm gonna say Earl wins. I'll go for the grain. Why not? We'll be a little bold today. I'll say Earl gets a late stoppage. I think he will. I think the first 4 or 5 rounds will be competitive, and I think Earl will slowly but surely show that separation, and either him or either the referee or Kenny will put a stop to the fight late in the fight. Kind of like when he stopped Kell Brook, 10th, 11th round. So I could see a late stoppage. It could definitely go to decision. That's kind of where I was leaning at for the longest time anyway. But we'll see how aggressive Earl is. But this is Earl's done pretty good with boxers, but this is the first time he's fighting someone who's gonna bring the fight to him. So it might make an exciting fight. Well, it'll definitely make for an exciting fight, but it could be really good for Porter, or really bad. They might have something for him. So we'll just have to wait and see, but I think it's definitely going to be a fun fight, however long it lasts. But I got Earl by a late stoppage, probably like round 10, round 11, maybe even round 12. But it's definitely a good fight. But Sean definitely has a chance. Don't get that twisted. Best welterweight resume for sure. I always like Sean Porter. He's a dog. So salute to both men. Great unification. Let me know who you guys think is going to win. Earl Spence, Sean Porter. Stay tuned.